everyone, and welcome to another painting demo. I'm going to get right into it and do my usual 2 or 3 coats of water, get it nice and paper nice and wet, and then we're going to go into some raw sienna, and we're going to do a little winter scene with a winter sun. I'm adding some light red into the mix here to create an area where I'm going to add the sun and have a nice little sunset or sunrise. Ultramarine blue should frame it nicely here with just giving it a little sky. Meant to be a sort of a cooler scene. The little bit of warmth from the sun, you can just sort of feel where the sun is. You ever been out in the cold? You can feel the sun. You can tell it's warm, but you're still cold outside. It's an interesting feeling. A little bit of red here down in where the water is going to be. There's going to be a little bit of an icy stream down here below. And we're just going to take a paper towel here. This is an interesting little trick. And you just wrap a coin in here like a quarter and go into the wet paint and just sort of do a little twist and you've got an instant sun. Okay, so now that that's done, go ahead and make up some tree colors here. Have those cad yellow, ultramarine blue, and then add a little bit of Payne's gray just to darken it so that it looks like there's a couple layers here. And maybe where the sun is kind of beaming off to the side here, we'll make it just a little lighter, a little more yellow mixed in there, and create some variety too in the color. Just makes it more interesting for the eye, I think. Next up, we'll mix up a little ultramarine blue, a little burnt umber, create some tree branches over here. I'm referring to a photo as I'm painting on this one. A lot of times I do things from imagination. This one happened to go to one of those free photo sites and kind of get some ideas. Use the razor edge of the hake, kind of press together the bristles to create the beginnings of some limbs here. And just a little bit of base of the trees. Create a nice base. And now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create sort of a shape of where the river's going to go. Ordinarily, I'd probably do some foreground and lead into that, but in this case here, I want to keep it lighter because it's a winter scene and there's sort of some snow on the ground. So I'm just going to lay in the banks here. Just to get a basic shape going. And just lay in a little more detail. And give it a little spray here just to keep things wet and open. And just make that area to the side a little bit lighter. And I'm going to add a little bit of blue just to kind of cool it a little bit. Just create a little edge there to where the tree line is. Kind of blending some things here. Just some little blending between little details. And next we'll do just flick in some nice limbs on the trees using either a number 2 or a number 3 rigger I like to do. Little blades of grass while I'm in there with that color. No leaves on these trees because it's more getting into a wintry scene. Just a little flick. Little wiggle just makes those branches look more convincing. unfortunately, I'm still dealing with getting too much light from my overhead light and kind of glaring the top of the painting. Luckily, we are not totally referring to that. That part is done. But something I need to work on. And let's do some trees on the right side here. This will kind of balance things out a little bit. Looks like it needs a few extra trees. I don't think those were in the original photo. And just flick in a few tree branches on this side. And some blades of grass sticking up from the ground again. Again, how much white you leave on the bottom for your snow is up to you. You can leave more or less. I didn't want this one to be so ultra cold, you know, so much white on the bottom. I'm just going to blend in some grass blades here using some burnt sienna and some Payne's gray. So they'll be sticking maybe out of the snow. Define that bank a little bit better too and feather that into it. And again, a little bit more Payne's gray just to create some depth. You know, a lighter color and a darker color, two tones. Something Ron Ranson talked about is doing two tones almost all the time. It's a lighter and then a darker tone of that. Again, just defining and putting in some more grass. Here I'm just taking the handle end of the brush and flicking in a few blades of grass. If you don't feel like reaching for your card, you can get even lazier and use the edge of your, the handle of your brush. Now I'm taking a little bit of ultramarine blue and just doing a top layer over the top of where this red was. You get the indication that there's some water there, but there's also the reflection coming through of the sun in the back, the sunrise or sunset. And then I'll add some white gouache to it. You'll see it'll create a nice effect as it comes together here. Again, just doing some more in the grass area there, just kind of blending it a little more. A little grass in the background, so you can see there's something there sticking out of the snowy area. Now a little bit of light red, just to create some little areas of warmth down there. A little quick dry, and back to our card, and we're going to put a little bit of white gouache on the edge of the card. Something I've been doing lately, you can use a brush for this. I kind of like it if you're just kind of creating like little edges and stuff. It's just something I've been fooling around with. Creates a neat effect. It's kind of reminiscent of doing a knife painting, but you're using it in watercolor. Although I wouldn't use it in too many other colors, although you can try it and see how it turns out. But it's good for the gouache, and then rubbing it with my finger, it kind of almost looks like the snow has been drifted. Some water effects there, I guess you can look at it as a water effect with a little bit of drift of snow. And when you pull it with your finger, it just smears it enough that it looks like it drifted. It's an interesting effect, I think. I think it's effective. And just smear some other areas here. Take a brush in this case and just sort of dab. It creates a nice effect where snow might be accumulating. Works good on evergreen trees too, this effect, because the branches become more individual. I'll do another video with that. With an evergreen tree. A previous video I did, I just kind of smeared the snow on. It looked okay, But I find if I take a brush about this size and just kind of dab it on, it just makes individual branches. And that'll be my next video. I'm not a big fan of winter myself. Don't like the cold. I'm not really a huge... I think it looks awesome, but I'm not a big fan of living in really wintry conditions, but it makes for a really nice painting. They're just really nice, beautiful scenes. I'm not really looking forward to winter, but I like painting wintry scenes. It just gives us a whole new, you know, rather than painting the same usual, the turn of the seasons, the fall, the winter. It's just nice to have that variety. In my house, I'll change the paintings around seasonally. It's a fun thing to do if you're doing your own paintings. You have access to your own work, and you can just change things up seasonally. Don't have the same artwork on the wall, and just switch it around. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm taking an X-Acto knife or a craft knife and the sharp edge, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some glistening, sparkly areas here by scraping away little bits of the paper. Don't get nervous about this, but do practice it on a not so successful painting before you do this. And what this does is it creates, if you have water or where the sun is and you scrape away a little bit of paper, it creates little sparkles. And it's a neat effect. I've sold a few that I've done this on now a few times. And I really like the effect that it does. But you have to get the hang of doing it. Takes a little knack, just really like anything else. When I zoom in, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. I'd like to have two cameras, and one with one really close to the paper so I can have sort of two camera angles. And just kind of wiping away the little bits. Not really going to damage the paper, not in the way you think it might be. You're just sort of scraping away, if you do it right, just a top layer to a degree, and then a little bit of the paint that was already applied. Alright, so I'm just going to pop in a couple little birds. I like using my little micron pen. 0.005. And we'll sign it. I think it turned out pretty nicely. I appreciate everybody joining me for another video. If you have any comments, please leave them below, and subscribe. So let's unclip it, and let's bring in the mount or mat and take a little bit of a closer look. And here we are with a black mat, which I usually sort of tend to favor. Let's get a little closer of a look. So there you have it. Let's take a look. I keep this two-sided in plastic mat and mount. Let's flip it around and see maybe how it might look with the white, just to show for a difference. Not too bad. I like the white too. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day.